The tragic beginning, the night was quiet, but her world was not at peace. 10 years ago, before the accident, she had been a child full of dreams. She had run across the open fields of her planet, laughing with her friends, her small hands reaching for the glowing lights in the sky. Back then, she had believed that nothing could stop her, but fate was cruel, and fate had already chosen her. Her name was Sarah, and she belonged to a gentle alien race that lived in small villages surrounded by endless forests. They were not warriors, not hunters, but people of peace who lived close to nature. Sarah had once been the fastest runner among the children, always leading the games, always first to climb, jump, and explore. But then came the accident, and everything ended. It happened in a single day, a single moment. The children had gone near the cliffs, even though the elders had warned them never. To go there, the rocks were weak, the ground unstable. But Sarah had been brave, or maybe foolish. She had tried to help a younger child who slipped. In that moment, the cliff broke beneath her. The others screamed, but no one could reach her in time. She fell. Her body struck the sharp rocks and her legs broke beyond repair. The healers of her people tried everything, but their medicine was not advanced. They could heal cuts. They could cure fever. But broken spines and destroyed nerves were beyond them. From that day on, Sarah could not move her legs. The girl who once ran faster than the wind was trapped forever in stillness. The years passed slowly, painfully. Every morning she woke up hoping that maybe, somehow, it was only a dream. But when she looked down, her legs were still useless. Her friends grew older. They worked. They traveled. They started families. Sarah stayed behind, always watching, always silent. The laughter of others felt like a cruel reminder of what she had lost. Her parents carried her outside when the sun was warm. She watched children play the same games she once loved. She wanted to cheer for them, but her heart felt heavy. The ground beneath her chair felt like a prison, and sometimes she wondered if she was already half dead, because her body moved only from the waist up and her dreams no longer moved at all. But worse than her broken body was the silence of her people. No one spoke of hope. No one offered a cure. They believed that once fate had spoken, nothing could change. They told her to accept her suffering as part of life. But Sarah was not ready to give up. Deep inside her heart, she still dreamed. She dreamed of running again, of climbing the hills, of standing tall under the stars. One night, when the moonlight fell through the trees, she whispered to herself, "If I cannot walk here, maybe somewhere else someone can help me." Her words faded into the dark and no one heard them. But her spirit did not break completely. She carried that small spark of hope in silence, year after year. She kept it hidden, like a flame that refused to die. Still, hope was not enough. To change her life, her body grew weaker as the seasons passed. She could not join the hunts. She could not work in the fields. Her people pitied her, but pity was like a knife. It reminded her every day that she was different, unwanted, a burden. At night, when no one was near, she cried silently, her tears soaking her pillow. But even then, she did not let go of that secret wish. The wish that one day, somehow, she might stand again. And then after 10 long years, something strange happened. Something her people had never seen before. A bright star appeared in the sky, moving faster than any star should move. It came closer and closer until it was clear it was no star at all. It was a ship, a vessel from the sky. The humans had arrived. That night, Sarah looked up with wide eyes, her heart racing in her chest. Her people gathered in fear and wonder, whispering about the strangers who came from beyond the stars. But Sarah felt something different. For the first time in 10 years, her hidden spark of hope began to burn brighter. She did not know who these humans were or what they wanted, but she whispered into the night once more, Maybe they are the ones who will set me free." And the audience is left wondering, what will happen when the girl who could not walk meets the people who carry machines of impossible power? The tragedy had lasted for a decade, but the beginning of change had just arrived. The arrival of humans. The village gathered in silence as the strange star lowered from the sky. It was not a star but a great silver ship, its surface glowing like liquid light. The trees shook as the vessel descended, dust and leaves swirling in the air. The people of Sarah's world had never seen such a thing. They whispered among themselves, some afraid, some curious, some even angry. The ship landed outside the village, its long legs digging into the soil, lights blinked along its sides, and a deep hum echoed through the forest. Sarah sat in her chair at the edge of the crowd, her eyes wide with wonder. Her heart pounded, because she felt something strange. This was not just another day. This was a moment that would change her life forever. A door on the ship opened with a hiss. From inside, figures appeared, tall and strange, wrapped in armor and cloth unlike anything her people had seen. They were humans, walking with calm confidence, their eyes scanning the world around them. Some carried tools, others carried glowing devices. One of them, a woman with dark hair, tied back, raised her hand slowly in greeting. The villagers stepped back, uncertain. Their leader, Elder Theron, moved forward cautiously. His voice trembled as he asked, "Who are you? What do you want on our land?" The human woman spoke in a language none of them understood. Then she tapped her wrist and a small device translated her words. "We are travelers," she said, her voice now clear. "We come in peace. We seek knowledge, and we wish to trade." "Thra," villagers murmured. Some said these strangers were dangerous. Others said they might be gods. But Sarah's eyes never left them. Her mind was filled with only one thought. If anyone could help her, it would be these humans. The humans began to show their technology. They brought out small machines that purified water, devices that healed cuts and burns in seconds, tools that could cut through stone as if it were soft wood. The villagers gasped in shock, their fear slowly turning to fascination. Sarah's mother whispered, "Such power, it cannot be real." But Sarah felt a deep pull in her chest. If they could do all this, maybe they could do the impossible. Maybe they could make her walk again. Days passed, and the humans stayed near the village. They shared food, exchanged gifts, and studied the plants and animals of the forest. The children followed them everywhere, laughing at their strange clothes and glowing devices. The elders remained watchful, still unsure if the strangers were truly friends. Sarah spent every moment she could watching them. From her chair, she stared at the way they moved, strong, free, without fear. They carried machines that seemed to be part of their own bodies. One human man had an arm made of shining metal, moving like flesh but stronger. When Sarah saw this, her breath caught in her throat. If a human could live with a metal arm, maybe she could live with metal legs. One afternoon when the village was busy, a human scientist noticed her. He was tall, with kind eyes and gray streaks in his hair. He approached slowly, kneeling so he was level with her. "You," he said softly through the translator. "What happened to you?" Sarah hesitated, but then she told him her story. She explained the accident, the fall, the 10 years of silence. The human listened carefully, his face filled with both sadness and determination. When she finished, he placed a gentle hand on his chest and said, "We can help you." Her eyes filled with tears. No one in her village had ever said those words to her. They had only told her to accept her fate, to sit quietly and wait for life to pass. But now a stranger from the stars was offering hope. The next day, the human scientist spoke with Elder Theron. "I believe we can give her new legs," he said. "We have technology that can replace what is broken. We can make her walk again." The elder frowned deeply, shaking his head. "Such things are not natural. It is dangerous," he argued. "The spirits gave her this fate, and it is not our place to change it." But Sarah's voice broke the silence. From her chair, she shouted with all her strength, "I do not want this fate. I do not want to sit forever. If you can help me, then help me." The villagers gasped, for never before had she spoken so boldly. The elder glared at her, but the human stood firm. The scientist said, The choice is hers, not yours. That night, Sarah sat awake under the stars. Her heart was torn between fear and hope. If the humans were right, she could walk again. But what if it failed? What if she died on the table, or worse, became a machine trapped in pain? Yet, deep inside, she already knew her answer. She would take the risk. For 10 years she had lived as half a person. Now, for the first time, she had a chance to be whole. The silver ship stood silently at the edge of the village, glowing like a second moon inside. Machines waited, powerful and mysterious. Sarah looked at it with trembling hands. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow my life might begin again, and the audience is left in suspense. Will the humans truly give her back her freedom, or will the price be greater than she imagined? The offer of help the next morning. The village gathered near the human silver ship. The elders stood with stern faces, whispering warnings. The children stood on their toes, curious and restless. And in the middle of it all sat Sarah, her hands gripping the sides of her chair, her heart beating like a drum. The human scientist, whose name was Dr. Elias, stepped forward. His translator device glowed softly as he spoke. "We come not to harm, but to heal," he said. "We have the knowledge to restore what has been lost, but only if Sarah chooses it." The crowd stirred, some shaking their heads, others nodding with wonder. Elder Theron raised his hand, his voice firm. "This is not the way of our people," he said. "The girl has lived with her fate for 10 years. It is the will of the spirits not to be changed by strangers." But Sarah's eyes burned with fire. She pushed herself forward in her chair, her voice trembling yet strong. "Elder, I respect you, but I cannot accept this prison anymore," she cried. "My life is not over, my dreams are not dead, and if there is a chance for me to walk, I will take it." A wave of silence fell, broken only by the rustle of leaves. Her words shocked everyone, for she had never spoken so boldly in public. Some villagers turned away, muttering that she was cursed. Others looked at her with sympathy, wondering if maybe she was right. Dr. Elias looked at Sarah and gave her a gentle nod. He knelt again so his eyes were level with hers. "You are brave," he said. "What I offer is not simple, not without danger, but it can give you legs again. Legs stronger than before." Sarah's lips trembled, her voice soft. Tell me how." The doctor lifted a small device from his bag. It projected a glowing image into the air. The villagers gasped as they saw it. A picture of shining metal legs, joints moving like real flesh, powered by energy flowing through them like blood. "These are cybernetic legs," he explained. "They connect to your body through your nerves. They become part of you. They obey your thoughts as if they were born with you." Sarah stared at the image, her chest rising and falling quickly. The thought of standing, of walking, of running, it almost felt impossible. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Would I truly be able to walk?" Dr. Elias nodded firmly. "Yes, but you must understand. It is a risk. Your body must accept the change, and the process will be painful. Your life will never be the same." Her mother wept quietly behind her. "My child," she whispered, "what if it fails? What if you are lost to us?" Sarah reached for her mother's hand, her voice steady. "Mother, I am already lost. I have been lost for 10 years. If I must take this risk to be found again, I will." The elder slammed his staff against the ground. "This is madness," he shouted. "Machines are not life, they are tricks. If you do this, you will no longer be one of us." But Sarah raised her chin, her eyes locked on the elders. "I have been sitting in the shadows while others lived. If you cast me out for choosing life, then I will walk alone. But I will walk." The villagers gasped again, shocked by her courage. Dr. Elias rose to his feet and spoke to the elder. "We do not force her. This is her choice, and we will honor it." Sarah was taken inside the human ship that evening. The walls glowed with strange lights. Machines hummed around her. Everything felt alive with energy, unlike anything her people had ever built. She trembled, not from fear, but from anticipation. Dr. Elias and his team prepared for the surgery. They explained each step in simple words. First, They would remove the broken remains of her damaged legs. Then they would attach the cybernetic ones, connecting them to her nervous system. Finally, they would teach her to use them, step by step, thought by thought, until she could stand again. Sarah listened carefully, her hands clenched tightly. Her heart pounded, but her spirit burned brighter than ever before. This was her chance, her only chance. She closed her eyes and whispered a promise to herself. If I can stand again, I will never sit in silence. I will never waste this gift. I will live. Outside the ship, the villagers waited. Some prayed for her. Others cursed the humans. The elder turned his back, refusing to watch, but the children stared with wide eyes, filled with wonder. For them, Sarah was not just a girl in a chair anymore. She was a symbol of courage, of a new path that no one had dared to walk. The doors of the ship closed, sealing Sarah inside. The lights brightened, the machines roared to life, and as the humans began their work, Sarah's old life faded into the shadows. What lay ahead was uncertain, terrifying, and full of risk. But it was also the beginning of something greater, something the universe itself seemed to have been waiting for. The audience is left holding their breath. Would the humans truly succeed in giving her legs? Or would the promise of hope turn into another tragedy? The surgery. The doors of the human ship sealed shut behind Sarah. For a moment, she felt the weight of silence press down on her. The world outside was gone, and now she was surrounded by glowing walls, humming machines, and humans moving with sharp precision. The air smelled different here, clean but metallic, filled with something she could not name. Dr. Elias placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Are you ready?" he asked through the translator, his voice calm. Sarah's throat was dry, her chest heavy, but she nodded. "I have been waiting 10 years, she whispered. Her voice trembled, but her eyes did not. They guided her into a bright chamber. In the center stood a long table made of silver metal, surrounded by machines with arms that ended in glowing tools. Strange screens floated in the air, showing shapes of her body she had never seen before. Her heart pounded harder as she was lifted onto the table. For the first time, she felt truly small in this vast ocean of human power. Dr. Elias leaned close. "This will not be easy," he said softly. "You will feel fear. You may feel pain, but when you wake, you will be different." Sarah closed her eyes and whispered, "Then let me wake." The humans placed a mask over her face, warm air filling her lungs. Her body grew heavy. Her vision blurred. The world slipped into darkness, but not before she felt the cold touch of a machine brushing against her skin. Then there was nothing but silence. When Sarah's eyes opened again, the world was filled with sound. A sharp hum of energy, the click of machines, voices speaking quickly in the human tongue. She wanted to move, but her body refused. Then she remembered. This was the surgery. She was inside the process of change. Through the haze, she felt strange sensations. Not pain exactly, but pressure, pulling and burning deep inside her body. It was as if fire and lightning danced through her veins. She gasped, but could not move her lips. Her body was heavy, trapped between sleep and waking. Dr. Elias's voice echoed above her, calm but serious. "The nerves are connecting. Hold steady," another human replied, stabilizing power flow to the joints. Their voices blurred together, a river of words she did not fully understand. Sarah felt it then, something attaching itself to her. The broken, lifeless weight of her old legs was gone. In its place, something stronger, heavier, alive in a way she could not explain. She felt wires like veins reaching into her flesh, circuits merging with nerves, energy becoming blood. It was terrifying, but at the same time, it felt like awakening. Her mind wanted to scream, but her heart whispered, "This is the price." Outside, the villagers waited. The ship glowed brighter than before, beams of light shining through the cracks in the trees. Some of the children pressed their ears against the metal hull, trying to hear. Elder Tharoon shook his head, muttering, "This is not life, it is death with shiny skin." But Sarah's mother knelt in the dirt, hands clasped, whispering prayers. Her tears fell onto the ground, soaking the soil. She did not know if she was praying to the spirits or to the humans or to anyone who would listen. Inside the chamber, the final stage began. Dr. Elias wiped the sweat from his forehead. His voice steady. "Power systems online, prepare the neural sync." A human assistant tapped a glowing panel, and the room filled with a low vibration. Sarah's body arched as energy flowed through her new legs. Her heart raced, her mind flooded with strange signals. She could feel them, the legs, the weight, the shape, the power, but they were not yet hers, not fully. They twitched and shuddered, like newborn creatures learning to breathe. Dr. Elias leaned close again. "Sarah, can you hear me? It is almost done. But now you must fight." Her voice came out broken, weak. "Fight. How?" "Do not fear them," he whispered. "They are part of you now, but only if you accept them." Her breath came in shallow gasps. Fear clawed at her chest, the thought that maybe she was losing her body, losing her soul. But then she remembered the years of stillness, the pain of watching life pass her by, the endless nights of whispering to herself, wishing for freedom. Her hands clenched tight, and she forced her mind to focus. "These are my legs. These belong to me." Her thoughts reached out, touching the strange new weight. The twitching stopped, the trembling stilled. For the first time, the cybernetic legs obeyed. The humans gasped as the screens lit up in green. Dr. Elias smiled, his eyes shining. "She has done it," he whispered. "She has accepted the connection." The hum of the machine slowed, the lights softened. Sarah lay still, her chest rising and falling, her body drenched in sweat. Her eyes opened, heavy but alive. Dr. Elias leaned down and said gently, "It is finished, Sarah. The surgery is complete." Her voice was hoarse, but her words carried the weight of a decade. "Then, let me stand." The humans exchanged glances, some shaking their heads. "She is too weak," one whispered. But Elias raised his hand. "No, if she wishes to stand, then let her try." They lifted her carefully from the table. Her body trembled, the metal limbs heavier than stone. But she could feel them, truly feel them. Not as foreign machines, but as part of herself. She clenched her jaw, her arms shaking as she pushed against the support, and then, for the first time in 10 long years, her body began to rise. The first step, the chamber was silent. Every human held their breath as Sarah stood between the glowing walls. Her body trembled, her arms clutching the support rails. The new legs beneath her gleamed with silver light, heavy yet alive. For 10 years, she had been bound to a chair, and now she stood at the edge of freedom. Dr. Elias stood close, his voice calm but steady. "Do not rush, Sarah, trust the legs. Let your mind speak to them." She swallowed hard, her lips dry. Her heart thundered so loudly she thought it would break her chest. Her thoughts reached downward, searching, pulling, and for a moment, the legs obeyed. The right leg shifted. Slowly, awkwardly, like a child learning to crawl. The sound of metal meeting floor echoed in the chamber. The humans gasped, eyes wide. Sarah froze, fear flooding her body. Her mind screamed, "What if I fall? What if they break me?" Dr. Elias's voice cut through her fear. "Sarah, listen to me. The legs are not machines anymore. They are part of you. Let them follow your will." She closed her eyes, her breath shaking. She remembered the cliffs, the accident, the years of stillness, and she remembered the nights she whispered to herself, begging for freedom. "I will not be broken again," she thought. "I will stand." Her left leg moved, slow but steady. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. The scientist beside Elias muttered, "Neural sync is stabilizing. Incredible." But Sarah heard none of it. She was lost in the storm of her own heartbeat. She lifted her head, sweat dripping from her brow. She released the support rail with one trembling hand. Her body swayed, but the legs held. They balanced. her weight with sharp precision stronger than any flesh could be. Her voice broke the silence, soft but fierce. I'm standing. Dr. Elias's eyes softened, pride shining in his face. Yes, Sarah, you are standing. Now take the step. Take what you have been waiting for. Her throat tightened, her chest heavy with fear and hope. She looked down at the shining legs, alien yet hers. She raised her right foot, the weight almost pulling her down. But then she placed it forward, and the sound rang out like thunder in her mind. Step, the humans cheered, clapping, smiling, their faces alight with wonder. But Sarah was deaf to them, for in that moment she was no longer the broken girl who had sat in silence for 10 years. She was alive, moving, reborn. She took another step, slower, but stronger. Her legs responded faster now, their connection deepening with each thought. The fear did not vanish, but it was replaced by something greater. Determination. The rails shook as her hands finally let go. For a heartbeat she staggered, her body wavering. But then she steadied. Herself, the legs holding firm. Sarah stood tall, free of all supports. The humans around her fell silent. Dr. Elias whispered, almost reverently, "She walks." Outside the ship, the villagers saw the door open. The glowing light spilled out. And then they saw her, Sarah, standing, not sitting, her head held high. Her mother covered her mouth with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. The children screamed with joy, running forward, but the elder's face grew dark, his staff shaking in his grip. "This is unnatural," he hissed. "This is blasphemy." Yet even he could not deny the truth. Before his eyes, the girl who had been paralyzed for a decade was walking again, step after step, slow but steady. She walked down the ramp of the human ship. Her people watched in awe, their hearts torn between fear and wonder. Sarah stopped in the center of the village. Her new legs gleamed in the sunlight. The air was filled with silence, broken only by her voice. "For 10 years I was trapped, for 10 years I was told to accept despair," she said. Her voice was strong, carried by the translator for all to hear. "But today I stand, because I chose hope, because I believed." The villagers whispered among themselves. Some bowed their heads in respect, others turned away in fear. But no one could look at her and see only weakness anymore. She was no longer a burden, no longer a shadow. She was something new, something powerful. Dr. Elias stepped forward. "These legs are more than tools, they are a gift," he said. "They will grow with her, adapt with her. They will allow her to run, to fight, to live. But the choice of how she uses them is hers alone." Sarah clenched her fists, her body trembling not with fear but with strength. She looked at her people, at her mother, at the children staring at her with wide eyes. And then she whispered the words she had carried for a decade. "I am free." That night, while the village slept, Sarah stood alone under the stars, her legs hummed softly with energy, her body still adjusting. She flexed her knees, bent low, then rose again. The power within her was terrifying, but it was also beautiful. She looked up at the sky, the endless, black ocean filled with stars, and she whispered, "If I can walk, then I can run, and if I can run, I will go beyond even the stars." The girl who had once fallen was no longer trapped in silence. She had taken her first step into a new life, but the true journey was only beginning. The gift of strength. The days after Sarah's first step felt like a dream. Every morning she woke, half expecting her legs to vanish, half expecting to find herself trapped again in her chair. But each time she rose, the hum of energy answered her. Her new legs were real, heavy, powerful, alive. And each day, she learned more. At first, the steps were slow, unsteady. Dr. Elias walked beside her, guiding her like a teacher guides a child. "Do not fight them," he said gently. "They are part of you now. Let them move with your will, not against it." She listened, and step by step, she grew faster, her balance sharpened, her stride lengthened, until one morning, she walked across the training floor without touching the rails. Her people watched in silence when she returned to the village. Some stared with awe, others with unease. Children ran after her, laughing and begging her to show the shining legs again. The mothers pulled them back, whispering, "Stay away, it is not natural." And the elder's face darkened every time he saw her walk. To him, she was proof that humans had brought change too dangerous to accept. But Sarah soon discovered her legs were more than tools for walking. One afternoon, Dr. Elias led her outside the village. They stopped near a field of broken stones. "Today," he said, "you will test their strength." Sarah frowned, nervous. "Strength? I only want to walk. I don't need more than that." The doctor smiled faintly. "You may not want it, but strength is already yours. It is better you learn to control it than fear it." He gestured to a stone twice. "Her size, kick it," he said simply. Her eyes widened. "That is impossible," she whispered, but he only stepped back, waiting. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding. She raised her leg, silver gleaming in the sunlight. She kicked, lightly at first. The stone cracked, splitting down the middle. Her eyes went wide, shock rushing through her body. She had not even used full force. The doctor nodded calmly. "The cybernetics are stronger than flesh, faster than bone. They respond to you, but they carry power, greater than you realize." Sarah stared at the broken stone, her voice trembling. "If I am not careful, I could hurt someone." Dr. Elias's voice grew firm. "Yes, and that is why you must learn. Strength without control is danger, but strength with wisdom is freedom." Word of her new power spread quickly through the village. The children whispered excitedly, calling her the Iron Runner. But the adults grew restless, muttering in fear, "What if she cannot control it?" One asked, "What if the humans give this power to others? What if they use us as experiments?" Another said. The elder struck his staff against the ground, his voice sharp. "This is the danger I warned you about. This girl is no longer one of us. She is half machine, half creature, a weapon the humans have built." Sarah heard his words and her chest ached. But when she looked at her legs, she did not see a weapon. She saw the chance she had begged for all her life. She whispered to herself, "I am not a weapon. I am alive." Her training grew harder. The humans taught her how to run, how to jump, how to land without crushing the ground beneath her. At first she stumbled, falling hard, the earth cracking beneath her weight. But she rose again each time, refusing to stop. She leaped higher, faster, until one day she soared over the trees, landing with perfect balance. Her people gasped when they saw it, some cheering, others backing away in fear. That night, her mother held her hands tightly. "My daughter," she whispered, "you are no longer weak, but you must be careful. They already fear what you are becoming." Sarah nodded, her voice soft but strong. "I do not want them to fear me. I only want them to see me." But the elder's fear was not silence anymore. One evening, he stood before the village, his voice loud. "These humans have brought poison into our lives. They give power where none should exist. They defy the will of the spirits, and now this girl, once one of us, is something else." Some villagers nodded in agreement. Others shouted that Sarah was proof of hope. The village split, torn between fear of change and wonder at possibility. Sarah stood at the edge of the crowd, her fists clenched. She wanted to speak, but her words were lost under the rising voices. Dr. Elias touched her shoulder and whispered, "Do not waste your breath on fear. Prove yourself with action. One day they will see the truth." That night, Sarah could not sleep. She stood beneath the stars again, her legs humming softly. She crouched low, then leapt high, soaring into the dark sky. For a heartbeat she felt weightless, free, like the child she had once been running through the fields. She landed softly, her heart racing with joy. She whispered, "These legs are not chains, they are wings." Her life had changed forever, but she did not yet know. Her gift of strength would not only change her fate, it would change the fate of her entire people. The new beginning. The village had changed. Where once there was silence and routine, now there was tension, whispers, and questions. Some people looked at Sarah as if she was a miracle. Others looked at her as if she was a curse, but none could ignore her anymore. Each day she trained with her new legs. She ran faster than the hunters. She leapt higher than the tallest trees. Her footsteps cracked the earth. Her strides cut through the wind. And though her body was alien to itself, her spirit soared. For the first time in 10 long years, Sarah felt alive. Yet strength brought responsibility. When wild beasts attacked the village's fields, Sarah was the first to face them. The animals were huge, armored with bone and claw. Her people had always feared them, but Sarah did not. She stood between the creatures and her people. Her new legs kicked and struck with thunderous force. The beasts fled, broken and defeated. The villagers gasped in awe, whispering, "She saved us." But Elder Tharoon was not moved. "This is not salvation," he declared, his staff shaking. "This is danger. If she can defeat the beasts, what else can she destroy?" His words sowed fear once more. Some nodded, some lowered their eyes. But Sarah lifted her head and spoke for the first time with true authority. "I am not your danger," she said, her voice clear. "For 10 years you left me in silence, and I never harmed you. Now I have strength, and still I choose to protect, not destroy." Her words carried weight, not only because of the translator, but because of the truth in them. Even those who feared her could not deny the courage that burned in her eyes. That night she walked alone to the edge of the forest, her legs glowing faintly in the moonlight. Dr. Elias found her there, his voice soft. "You defended them today, but you are troubled." Sarah looked at him, her hands tightening into fists. "I wanted this gift so badly, I begged for it, and now I have it, but my people fear me." Her voice cracked with pain. "I only wanted to walk among them again, not stand apart as something different." Elias studied her face, then said gently, "Sarah, difference is not a curse. It is a burden, yes, but also a fire. Sometimes fire burns, but sometimes it lights the path. You have lit a path none of your people dared to see." His words struck her heart. She looked down at her legs, at the shining silver that was now part of her. Maybe she was no longer only what she had been, but maybe that was not weakness, maybe it was destiny. The next morning Sarah climbed the hill outside the village. Her movements were swift, her legs carrying her as if they had always been hers. She reached the top where the wind swept across the land. From there she could see her village below, the forests stretching beyond, and the endless sky above. She spread her arms and whispered, "For 10 years I looked up at this sky and thought I was broken. But now I see I was only waiting." Her people followed her, curious, hesitant. They saw her standing tall on the hill, her body glowing like a figure carved from light and metal. The children ran to her side, fearless, their laughter pure. Even some of the hunters bowed their heads in respect, for they knew without her the beasts would have destroyed them. Only the elder remained in the shadows, his face twisted with doubt. But his voice was weaker now, for even he could not silence the truth. The girl who was once a prisoner of her chair was now their protector. That evening Sarah stood before the humans and her people together. The firelight reflected in her silver legs, casting long shadows. "My life was taken from me for 10 years, she said. "My spirit was chained, but today I walk, I run, I fight, not because of fate, but because I chose hope." She looked at the villagers, at her mother, at the children who clung to her hands. "You may fear me, but I am not your enemy. I am still your daughter, your sister, your friend." Dr. Elias stepped forward, his voice calm but powerful. "Humans gave her the tools, but the strength you see is hers alone. The courage was always inside her. We only gave her the chance to show it." The crowd fell silent, the weight of truth pressing upon them. For the first time, some of the villagers stepped forward and bowed to Sarah, not out of fear, but out of respect. Later that night, Sarah stood alone on the mountain peak. Her legs hummed softly, strong and steady beneath her. She looked at the stars, brighter than ever, and her heart swelled. She thought of the years she had lost, the pain she had endured. And then she thought of the years ahead, full of possibilities. She whispered to herself, her voice steady, "I was broken, but I'm not broken anymore. I was chained, but now I am free. My story is only beginning. The stars seemed to answer, shining like beacons. The girl who had fallen now stood taller than ever before. Her new beginning had come, and the universe itself seemed to open its arms to her.